May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and this week we are also celebrating Nurses Week, a week set aside to honor the men and women who show up shift after shift, giving everything they have to care for others, often at the expense of their own health. If that is you, this episode is for you. So today I'm sitting down with Stephanie Taylor, a cardiac ICU nurse who spent years doing all the right things, exercises, eating healthy, pushing through, while her body was quietly breaking down from the inside out. Chronic pain, exhaustion, inflammation, weight gain, no matter what she did to get it off. And the terrifying thought so many nurses know is maybe this is just what life feels like. Maybe this is what life is. And it is not. And Stephanie is proof. What she discovered and what she shares so honestly in this conversation is that the missing piece was not more discipline or a better plan. It was getting her body the support it actually needed at a cellular level to finally heal. This is one of those episodes you're going to want to share with every nurse, every woman, and person in your life who's exhausted and has started to believe that they are just broken. You're not broken. You have just not fully supported your body properly yet. And before we get into it, there is one thing that I want to say because I know that you are dealing with chronic stress. And if there's one thing that I know about chronic stress is it's not just a feeling. It is a physical process that is aging your body, breaking down your collagen, disrupting your hormones, and quietly doing damage that compounds over time. So the supplement I come back to again and again for myself and the women that I coach and love is Liquid BioCell. It is not just collagen. It is actually clinically studied, highly bioavailable collagen hyaluronic acid matrix that your body can actually absorb and use. It supports your joints, your skin, your gut, your energy, everything, and it directly addresses the physical breakdown that chronic stress causes because stress is aging us, and this is my favorite tool to fight back. So right now, in honor of Nurses Week and Mental Health Awareness Month, I want to give you an extra $25 off. All you have to do is send me a DM on Instagram with the word collagen. That's it. Just spell out the word collagen and I will personally get you taken care of. Now, if you're not on Instagram, then you can email me at hello@theshanwright.com. On Instagram, I am at theshanwright. So please receive this gift for Nurses Week and Nurses Month and this Mental Health Awareness Month. Like, receive this gift that I'm giving you because your body is doing hard things and it's doing hard things for a long time and it deserves real support at the cellular level. So DM me collagen on Instagram and let's get started. And now let's get into this amazing conversation. If you're done running on empty, surviving shift to shift, and feeling life fatigue, then you're in the right place. Hi, I'm Shan Wright, registered nurse, holistic life coach, and mama of four who found her way through burnout and anxiety to peace and purpose with faith-based practices and God's design for whole person wellness. Here, I help nurses like you recover from burnout, regulate your nervous system, reconnect with God, and discover your identity beyond the badge. Are you ready to start caring for you the way you care for everyone else? I am. Go reheat that coffee again, and let's beat burnout together. So Stephanie and I have been connected through another stream of our business. She is just a nurse. She doesn't do podcasts. She doesn't have a show of her own. She's not big on socials either, but I knew she was a nurse and I just felt I wanted to hear her story. So she shared her story with me and I was like, okay, let's bring her on the podcast. This is just a regular nurse just like you who has a story that I just want to broadcast. I want you all to hear how a burnout can sneak in and how we can care for ourselves. And it looks different and unique for each person. So Stephanie, just bring us into your nursing world a little bit. What does your nursing career look like? I know you've been in it about 20 years, but just give us a little snippet of where you are in nursing.
So I am a cardiac ICU resource nurse of sorts. I used to be the head day shift charge. Now I'm the resource for all my charges, for all my peers on the unit, all my nurses. And I'm also one of the main advanced preceptors for our open heart surgery nurses that are learning. And I'm also our head day shift scheduler. So I wear a few hats.
Yeah. Have you always worked in cardiac?
I've always worked cardiac critical care.
Hmm.
I didn't do fresh open heart surgery until 2010.
Sounds like you have a lot of responsibility on your floor and have worked your way up in levels of superiority. So, what does a typical shift look like as far as wearing all those hats?
So now my role's a little different. I have a really amazing shift of 9:45 to 22:15. Once upon a time when I was very burned out, I was the day shift charge that got there at 6:15 a.m. Well, earlier, as you know, because nursing,
Yeah.
when you're on the clock and when you get there ahead. As my current job that is more balance and at the same time being pulled all the directions. So there are days where I walk onto the unit and it's on fire and they're running codes and my day shift charge is like, take the phone.
Yeah.
And you're just like, it's all good. We will get through this. We have 100% track record of making it through the day. And it's one of those things that it's really nice to be in a place that compared to where I used to feel so stressed and so just on pressure all the time. And there are days I sling my backpack down, I walk into a room and I recover maybe a easy but phase one recovery from a TAVR or something to that effect where it's simple and nice, simple. They just got a new heart valve. It's great. But, that being said, I think as ICU nurses, we are on at all times when we are
Hmm.
there. And
Yeah.
for me, that means, I don't leave in the middle of compressions, right? If that's the end of my shift at 10:15 p.m., you are all things to all people. You're doing often Q3 to Q15 minute vital signs for 12 and a half hours or more. You are everything from CPR to defibrillation, running drips, paying attention. You're always on. So
Yeah.
figuring out for myself how to do that and still take care of my health
Yeah.
was huge. It was huge. And I was burning out and I was going to lose a profession that I absolutely love.
Yeah.
And if I hadn't changed things years ago, I wouldn't be doing what I am now.
Yes, yes. I'm sure so many people are agreeing with a lot of the things you just said, and we're going to get into your whole story. But I would just want to ask one little thing right here. You said, you're caring for these hearts that are trying to keep beating all day long and so high stress. And then you come home, and I know you have a daughter and you have a family. So when you come home, how do you care for your heart when it's at least 11 p.m.? Maybe it's midnight. Like, how do you care for your heart to settle down, to calm it, so then you can rest, like literally sleep?
I when I talk to my nurses, when I talk to the people I health coach, when I talk to the people, just my friends, they're all stunned because I usually can go to sleep by about 11:15 to 11:30 p.m. And I don't get off till 10:15. I don't get out to my parking lot. They're making that situation even more unique at my work environment. It's actually probably going to take about a half hour to get to my car walking,
Yeah.
and bus and stuff. So it's going to be a little interesting late at night, but I am able to turn it around pretty quick. And here's my routine is that I come home and I do listen to gentle music in the car with no
Hmm.
words. God and I prayed about that a long time ago because all my friends were like, oh, do praise music or do,
Yeah.
and it was like, you don't need words. I need you to be in a different place. I need you to sleep.
Mm.
And that was really interesting for me because that was a big change. And
Yeah.
and then when I got home, it was here's where there's words you can journal. And my journals often end up almost being like a prayer.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's just, but they're short and I can almost feel my body winding down as I'm journaling. It's like,
Yeah.
okay. And I almost sometimes I will literally stop mid sentence and it's like, you're going to go to bed now. So technically, I am doing things up until the moment I go to bed occasionally, which is a little different for some people, right? They need to just turn it all off and just lay there. I fall asleep very fast.
Yeah, I bet.
But for me, that was a big way to turn off at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And then for me, especially on those long stretches, but personally, no matter what, every single day, the first thing I do is open my Bible. And
Mm.
so prayer and opening scripture,
Yeah.
that's how I start. And really the journaling for me is ending the day in prayer. It's a little
Yeah.
different, but that is what it for me. That's my way to
Yeah.
have peace.
Yeah, I love that you're starting and ending your day with that. Okay, let's go into it. So this was not always your rhythm, and you were burnt out, stressed out, and not in a healthy place until you learned how to care for yourself. So take us back to that. Did you encounter burnout early on, or when do you feel like it really hit, and why? Take us there.
Well, if you really want to go back, you and I haven't talked about this. It would really go back even into like grade school, high school. I live in
That's the same for me, so
Yeah,
I totally get it.
I have an amazing family and they're incredible. This is not on them. They're amazing people, but they work schedules and everybody's very familiar with their story. There's no HIPAA violation here. My own dad had a cardiac arrest after a massive heart attack. He is a full-time CMO, beloved by all. He's at 73, still working full-time. The story ends happy. He is a very unique individual, and most of my family are. They live on like 3 to 5 hours of sleep a night. Maybe they're up for 2 or 3 days. And I felt that pressure to live like that.
Yeah.
I wore that badge of honor. Oh, I only got 3 hours of sleep tonight. Oh, that was a big one, right? Or I only, night shift nurse. Oh, I only, got a couple
Yeah.
hours of sleep. Oh, just gonna drink some more coffee. Learning how to take care of myself and be humble enough to ask for help was truly what changed my life because I would do all the right things. I would lose weight, I would get healthy, but I felt exhausted 24/7. I might have looked healthy, I might have ran the half marathon, I might have, and at times I didn't look healthy. I was very burnt out. I was exhausted and it showed. I'm a very small person. I'm only barely over 5 foot and I was near 200 pounds. And it was really bad. And I was going to end
Mm.
up with my genetics in my own cardiac ICU if I wasn't careful. And even, in my 40s, I look at where I'm now and how much better I feel than when I was in even my 20s and 30s. And it's just, it didn't matter what I weighed. It didn't matter. I was so tired at all times. And I had a 4.3 GPA all throughout high school. I had a 4.0 in college, and I hated every moment of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I always wanted to take care of people, but I
Yeah.
didn't know how to take care of myself.
Yeah.
And I've always felt like my purpose was to serve and care for others. And it took, unfortunately, years to learn that that meant also taking care of me.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why I'm so passionate about helping people with their health because I didn't take care of my health for so long. I
Yeah.
remember going entire charge nurse days without eating a thing and probably didn't drink any water either.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that just brings back a story to my mind. Because we talked about this, both being recovering perfectionists, and this was when I was trying to pass my boards. And so, I graduated from school. I studied for a couple months. I think I did a couple months in the summer, and my school was like, "We have a 99% passing rate. Don't screw it up." Basically, like, don't be the one that doesn't pass boards the first time. And so this is like haunting me. So it's like, okay, I have to be perfect even on my boards. Like, I can't mess up. And I spent a lot of money. We all know it costs money to take the test. So I'm sitting there and I am studying, and then I go in to take the exam, and it took me, so I think my appointment was like mid-morning, and I took all 5 hours to take the exam. I struggled with anxiety all growing up, rooted in perfectionism. And so this anxiety was very evident on exams. And so I took all 5 hours. I think I went out to the water fountain one time, and then I came home and I was sure I failed. I was positive I failed. And so I didn't eat. I didn't drink. I didn't, I might have gone to the bathroom, but I probably didn't need to. And I decided to cut the grass in the 100-degree heat. I felt like I needed to punish myself. And I'm like, that's almost what it is when we are working these high stress jobs in the hospital and we're like, we're not going to drink water. We're not going to eat. We're not going to use the bathroom unless our bladder literally explodes. It's almost like we don't deserve these natural things because we have to do the best work possible and we have to save these lives. So we don't get to, we don't deserve the basic needs for our own bodies. And it's so messed up. Looking back on that story, I'm like, what is wrong with me? Why didn't I feed myself or give myself some water? Just feel so bad for myself back then. But I can see where we are feeling like we're doing such a good job that we can believe the lie. I don't have time to go get water. I don't have time to go in the break room and have a snack even. But it's like, no, you do have to care for your body or you're not going to have the energy to keep going the rest of the shift. But we tell ourselves the lies that we do.
That the intentionality, my nurses know, obviously, and I would guess, I mean, I'd have to ask them, but I am known to be, I'm there. If I'm 180% there. I'm not very good at half measures, but I also take care of my health and they know, they joke. I have so many closed water bottles. They're compliant,
Yeah.
but I have multiple water bottles. I have my tea and my supplements. Everybody knows if they need a packet of something and they're struggling, they can come and talk to me. I will help them. They know that I will be there. I will help with the codes. I will take care of the sick patients. But when I step out of that room, the first thing I'm going to do is probably drink some water. And
Yeah.
I'm going to take I make super healthy. We batch cook. I do eat pretty much the same thing on work days, like breakfast, lunch, and dinner for the most part. But I have healthy meals I enjoy that are quick to take to work in the ICU.
Yeah.
My protein yogurt bowls and all that easy
Yeah.
stuff. But my nurses know that I'm going to fuel myself. They know, they see me. If all I have is 3 minutes, that's all I have, but I will take care of myself in 3 minutes.
Yeah. And that's a good example for them because they know if she's doing it and she's more experienced, I've only been a nurse for a couple of years and I feel so stressed out, burnt out. I'm looking to look to my charge and my lead and see, okay, she's taking a minute to have a snack. Maybe I should, that's such a good example.
I am very blessed to work where I do with a really great team that has respected that I want to be healthy. And,
Yeah.
they're working on that for themselves. And
Right.
one of the things I love is we have an environment that very much like do what is right for you. For me, I was a long distance runner and the most unhealthy in my life. I have a guy on my unit that I'm pretty sure he runs a mile in about 4 minutes and 13. I mean, like,
Wow.
and that's how he spends his lunch break. And that's his relaxation. And for
Yeah.
him, it is like, it's so easy.
It's so easy. Yeah.
Yeah. He also eats and takes care of himself. And, it's a good reminder that the culture we create, and I'm not saying we're perfect. We're not.
Yeah.
But we're working on creating health and wellness and, extending that to each other, not just our patients.
Yeah. Let's go back though to when you were not healthy. And you said at your heaviest, you were about 200 pounds at 5 foot something.
I'm
5'2". And so I'm curious, was that out of burnout that you were taking care of or not taking care of your body in that way, not nourishing it like you are now? And what switched? How did you learn how to switch and now fuel yourself like you do?
Can I be honest? A lot of it goes back to some of your story of punishment. So not eating all day and eating at the very end of night was one of the ways when I first switched to day shift because I was healthier on nights. I looked healthier, but part of that was maybe starvation, just not eating. And then when I went to days and I was newly married, my husband's an amazing chef, and I would come home and he would have really lovely food cooked. And that was all I ate, but it was, at 8:30 at night. And it, just was not a healthy way to do life. I was a chronic breakfast skipper. Anybody else? I never had breakfast. I had coffee on an empty stomach.
Yeah.
Really, really horrible, right? And so that being said, and it wasn't just one cup, guys. So I lived on caffeine, I lived on stress, and I didn't eat healthy. Well, fast forward, I figured out how to balance macros. I figured out how to work out, and I could lose, but I couldn't maintain because I was so stressed. I had so much pressure.
Mm.
And I remember just praying, like, why am I doing all the right things? I was in this incredible, like, online private fitness group, and I was working so hard. I was printing all her stuff out. I was like following, and she's amazing. There's no criticism there. But I was printing everything out and I was doing everything right and I was gaining.
Mm.
And I looked at it and I was like, my body is missing something. And I remember going in and getting my blood work, and my vitamin levels made me cringe. And also my pre-albumin levels, I actually ended up having those drawn. And for those that are not aware, that's how your body's doing. Like when my friend that was a nutritionist saw mine that actually works in critical care, she saw my pre-albumin levels and she's like, this is like that of a dying 90-year-old, Stephanie. What is
Mm.
going on? And I said, well, I'm stressed. And that's what the doctor thinks is going on. And so I started to work with some naturopaths. They were very expensive and I couldn't keep it up. And so I'd gotten healthier and then slid all the way back. And I just was so frustrated. And I prayed about it a lot. And this sounds silly, but I had a friend that I'd grown up with who I trust so much. And you know her, Bethany, a friend of ours in the health and
Mhm.
wellness space. And I reached out to her and I said, look, I'm an ICU nurse and this is humbling, but nothing's working and I don't feel good. And I'm trying so hard.
Mhm.
And she was like, well, let's look at everything. And taking that step back with someone who was gentle enough to help me be gentler with myself and to realize that we needed to support healing first. I've been through a lot of surgeries. I had a lot of gut issues on top of not taking care of myself, right? And healing and pausing and taking that time for myself to dial in what I needed. I frequently, people know that I love lifting weights. Short duration, 20 minutes, 2 or 3 days a week, but I do love lifting heavy. And I had to give that up for 4 months to dial my health in. That was
Mm.
hard. And there are
Mm.
times, usually every year, at least a month or two, that I actually back off and I just give my body rest. And it's hard when you're in a society that always praises do more, do more, do more,
Yeah.
do more. And even within wonderful Christian kind communities, they tell you, like, if you're not pushing, you're
Mhm.
failing. And I think remembering that God gives us grace, and yes, He doesn't want us to be necessarily lazy and doing nothing, but taking care of ourselves does matter. How we fuel ourselves does matter. Finding, things that actually support your body and having appropriate vitamin levels, it matters. Sleep
Yeah.
matters, right? And it's not that we're perfect, because you and I both know perfection and striving for that doesn't help.
Yeah, I love that you're saying it's like we know all this stuff. Like you knew all these ways to get healthy and you did them. But your body still wasn't responding because it needed grace. It needed rest. It needed a space to heal in order to get healthy. And without, I love taking it back to like agriculture because the Bible does that a lot, but where it's like the fields needed to rest on the seventh year. And in order to grow a new crop again, they needed that rest. And I was thinking about it this summer because I went through my own, like another little mini burnout season. And God's was like really loud and clear. The healing only happens in the rest. when you're resting, that is healing. And if we don't allow ourselves the rest in the right way, we can't heal. And sometimes, a lot of times, that healing looks like losing weight and being mentally clear. The brain fog is gone. We're sleeping better, have energy. Like it looks like all these things that we're like, I just want that. And it's like, but that comes from healing. And we try
People
to
always,
rush it.
yes, people always laugh when they like actually reach out to me and I'm like, so walk me through your week. What does it look like? And they're like, no, aren't you going to tell me what to do? And I'm like, no, I want to hear what your week looks like. And I need them to walk me through what they're doing, how they're sleeping,
Yeah.
how they're fueling themselves. And people are always like, oh, okay. And then, as a nurse, foundational nutrition does matter. I mean, I have never been more convinced of that in recent years in how we feel. People want the magic pills, but they forget that those magic things or other things come with side effects. And
Yeah.
of course, in the ICU, I see the worst of the worst, right? So it's like, let's
Yeah.
back off and try and do what we can to support our bodies as naturally as possible. And
Yeah.
admittedly, our soil doesn't have the same things it had 250 years ago. So supplemental nutrition and vitamins can be very, very helpful. And so it was one of those things looking at that, looking at how I used to try to do things. I remember, once upon a time, I had bought a protein powder and it got recalled. And then I started to really look at what I was putting in my body. And it was like, oh, okay, that would explain a lot. So,
Yeah.
fueling ourselves, water, sleep,
Yeah.
walking. When people at first meet with me, a lot of my stressed out people, they're like, well, I'm lifting this, I'm doing this many, minutes on the elliptical a day, I'm doing this XYZ. And I'm like, okay, so I want you to back off of all of that. And I want you to track your water, your sleep, your protein. And I'd really love it if you could walk 30 minutes at a pace you can breathe at a day. And they're like, wait, what? You're crazy.
Yeah.
And then the results start to happen. And suddenly they're like, oh, maybe you're not so crazy.
Yeah. And I'm venturing you give that advice because that's what worked for you.
Yes. And different people are different. And I mean, that's why I said for the stressed out person,
Yeah.
like I was. So that's why I say, like the person that's like I was, different people are different.
Right.
And that's why I always encourage, and I know you do the same, to reach out to you, to talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
Don't work within a vacuum, right? Talk to people you trust who have the evidentiary support. I mean, we're nurses, right?
Yeah.
And you want to make sure that you are always honoring the positions God has put you in life to do the best you can to always support people, but never harm, right?
Yeah.
Do no
Yeah.
harm.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I was just wanting to reiterate, like we all are pretty much high stress and living in this stressful state. So when you went to Bethany and she's like, okay, I need you to like stop doing all that you're doing. I need you to be still. I need you to rest. And that was hard for you because we're so accustomed to doing. But then once you did, you saw the results. And that's when you had like the big turn and shift of, oh my goodness, now I can heal. And I think I'll let you say, but for me, it was hard to even take my first supplement because I'm like, I can do this with food and water and sleep. Like I can do it with the proper things. Why do I need to take something else? And it did. I had to look into the science and the research and be like, okay, is this smart to do? So share with me how like once you did rest and you started to see results, how you incorporated supplements and why that was the right move for you.
So for me, obviously, I believe that healthy supplementation is in addition to a healthy lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
And that lifestyle can look different for different people, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I mentioned, my coworker friend that runs, I mean, obviously healthy, right? Different things look different for different people. For me, pausing on the long distance running, backing off, fueling myself with protein before any caffeine in the morning, fueling myself with cleaner protein, cutting out, being bluntly honest, any aspartame, any, all those artificial things that can really harm our bodies. And being upfront and honest with myself about what we were going to put in our bodies. For me, gut healing was so huge, and healing from
Mhm.
chronic pain. When you're not living in chronic pain on a daily basis, that's huge. I had just learned to push through it. I'd had an injury at only 26 years old. And when you really look back at the photos, that's probably when my health started to, because I started very young. Um,
Yeah.
and so it was, you look back, that was when things really did start to slide. I just look at using, things that actually absorb, that our bodies can actually use, getting our health to a level that we don't have to feel exhausted all the time, right? That you actually have good energy. Like every once in a while, as much as I try to practice a healthy lifestyle, I'm very extra grateful for the fact that on the hard days, I have things that will help me feel better. And like you
Mhm.
said, there are seasons that we go through. Life is not perfect. We lost many loved ones last year. And I myself went through a season where by November, I realized I said, I need to stop my weights. I need to go back to the basics. I need to go back to just my nutrition, my water, taking care of myself, doing what I know works. And in a world where there's so much noise and fads and trends and pushing yourself and going to the gym and doing all the things. And I'm not saying that maybe that's not good for some people. Maybe it's great. But for myself, I know that being gentle and practicing rest is what I have needed in my life. And taking the rest, we have a rest and rewind tea, as you know. And I, remembering to actually have that every night when I come home and I do my journaling. It's like, oh, you do sleep better.
Oh my gosh, I sleep so much better with that stuff. Yeah.
It makes all the difference. And every once in a while, I'm like, well, can I do it without it? And I remember praying, like, am I weak because I need this? And then being like, this is an answer I've given you. This is a support I've provided.
Hmm.
And if it ever goes away or something changes, we will figure something else out. And trusting that that will be
Hmm.
provided, trusting that things will work out okay. Because I think as an ICU nurse, you're always waiting for the worst outcome, right? Especially in cardiac ICU, it's like you help with the code team and you're always waiting for, well, if they die, worst case scenario. And I had once upon a time got told that, I tend to be higher stress, but then I'm relaxed when things get really bad. And that's because I no longer have to wait for the bad to happen. I know what to do.
Hmm.
I know how to do
Hmm.
ACLS really well.
We're similar. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's one of those things that pausing and using healthy supplements to help myself feel better.
Hmm.
It's not a weakness. It has been very humbling. It's been really
Hmm.
humbling to realize, like, but God provides us with things in our life. Prayer. He provides us with journaling. He provides us. After I do scripture every morning, write down 3 things I'm grateful for. Gratitude journaling, period, to help rewire your brain towards
Yeah.
positivity. Because for me, I do see people usually on often the worst day of their lives, right? Cardiac arrest patients, etc.
Yeah.
And helping with those high stress environments means I have to work extra hard to rewire our brain. And I think nurses and honestly, it's people in general these days, right? Like so
Yeah.
many people, I've also heard people come to me, and you've probably gotten this, I'm guessing too, Shan. People will come to you and say, you know, I was feeling really awful about myself. I'm really tired. But if you struggled with your health and you're an ICU nurse for almost 20 years, well, then maybe it's okay. Like if an ICU nurse had a hard time figuring out their health, maybe it's okay for me to have a hard time figuring out my health. And I'm
Hmm.
like, that's what we love to do is try to make things easier for people. And again, like partner with them, not just tell them exactly what to do, but listen to where they're at and how they're doing.
That's so good. I think a lot of us are high achievers and wanting to get it right. Like you were just pointing out, like we know how to do CPR really well. We know how to save lives well. So it's like we know how to do these things really well, but then we don't know how to care for our bodies really well when we feel like we should. There's a lot of these shoulds that come up in our heads. So, how did you recover from listening to that perfectionist voice and give yourself grace besides prayer, but like give some more like practical things that you work on? Maybe it's at work or maybe it's at home where you're like feeling like, I need to get this right, this parenting thing, I need to get this right. And where do you like, no, 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 no. Like, we're not going to get it all right.
That is the thing that is always a work in progress for me. So,
Yeah.
being totally honest, I think especially, as a mom, they didn't come with instruction books. I'm really good at instruction books.
Right. I follow the rules. There's no
I
rules.
follow the rules. I will say for myself, it really went to figuring out my whys and having those be deeper, not just superficial, because this is something I work on every day.
Yeah.
This is something for myself, the being gentler with myself when I
Hmm.
do potentially fail,
Hmm.
if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Well, I think it comes back to like, like, we're told to love others as ourselves. But if we
Yeah.
don't know how to love ourselves, then that love and care that we show to others, we don't get it right. It's not on point because we're not even caring and loving ourselves. But so, I mean, you've already said some things like taking that time to journal before in the beginning of the day and end of the day is loving yourself to like take that second and be like, I'm worth sitting down, calming my brain. Oh, this is another thing. Like a lot of people, they don't even like to journal because what if I get that wrong and I write it down in black and white and it's wrong? I've heard this from other perfectionists and it's like, okay, but no, this is a process. When you process things, it doesn't come out right all the time. So that's the grace that you're learning.
So, okay, so that will take it back to, okay, I mentioned like figuring out your whys, but also figuring out that you're worthy just on your own.
Yeah.
So that's been a huge part of that gratitude journaling in the morning, and that I
Mm,
do deserve to feel good.
yeah.
Um, that I don't have to be perfect to take care of myself. That one is always a work in progress for me. And it's something that it took me a long time to feel okay just being who I was.
Hmm.
And, for a long time, I had a hard time sharing anything I was doing. That's one of the reasons it was so incredibly hard to step in, even though I'd done all the study and all the research to even step into the health and wellness space the way I have, because I love optimizing wellness and not just treating critical illness. But I didn't feel worthy enough, even though I had done so much work. I had helped because unless I'm perfect, and none of us are ever perfect, right? And I think there will always be someone who does better, who knows more.
Yeah.
And realizing that I can still contribute, that God made me the way I am. I'm not flawed because I'm not perfect 24/7. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
all flawed. We're all flawed, but we're still worthy. And
Hmm.
we're not worthy because of what we do. We're just worthy because God loves us. And
Yes.
that took so long for me to figure out because I did feel growing up in the environment I did on not something my parents ever put on me, but other people and the
Mm,
surrounding environment. Like being totally honest was so stressful and so high pressure. And I should clarify, I'm like the first in 7 generations without MD behind my name in my family. So that didn't go over well, if you get my drift. I chose to be
yeah.
just a nurse.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure that was so hard.
And yet, I'll never forget getting to go to Take Your Daughter to Work Day in sixth grade. I was so young, right, Shan? And my dad would do surgery and incredible surgeries, and he is amazing at what he does. And I remember, like, as soon as we would finish the surgery, he'd go on to the next case, and I wanted to stay with the patient. I'm like, what if something happens?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, the nurses will call me. And I'm like, can I stay with the nurses? And he's like, they're too busy. And I was like, I don't want to just like rotate. I want to
Yeah.
stay. And that very much was very apparent. Like for me, nursing was always the right thing to do.
Mhm.
And I want to stay and care for someone. I want to
Yeah.
help as much as I can. Not that, trust me, we need surgeons. I'm beyond grateful for them, work with them every day. But it wasn't what I was meant to do, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. And so I think for those of us that want to stay and we want to make things as good as possible, when we can't always make things as good as possible, remembering that the effort still matters. I think that is such a key. And shifting from sometimes our goals change. Figuring out your whys and your goals is, I think, so key because then you're not necessarily failing. You might just need to be adjusting what you're
Mm.
going for. So that's a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's so good. Such a good kind of ending to put here because you said, I wanted to stay. And if we want to stay and care for others, we have to care for ourselves. And so I feel like you've given so many good tidbits in this conversation on how to care for ourselves when we are still staying in the job, we're still caring for other people for 16-hour shifts, coming home, caring for our families. But in order to do those things and to stay and be by someone's side, we have to love ourselves first. So one last word you want to leave with these nurses that they need a little encouragement.
I would really encourage anyone struggling to figure out what's your why and is it God driven or driven by you? For me, I want to stay and I want to help and I want to take care of people. But I had to figure out, am I doing that because that was the mission God put in my life? Or am I doing that because, so for example, familial, pressure, what you look like to the outside community, what you look like to your family and to your friends. Are you doing things because God put them in your life or because you put it there?
Yeah.
And I do think when we pause, come up with why we're doing something and we're letting God be at the heart of that makes all the difference in the world. So many of the things I did were to try and be perfect because I didn't want to fail to the outside world. And now that I've let myself pause and remember that to everything there is a season, that God puts different things in our lives at different times. When we let Him lead rather than ourselves and our own pride, I would never be where I am if I had not been humble enough to ask for help, to reach out, and to trust in a lot of prayer. Because
Yeah.
it's hard sometimes to do things differently than others.
You were saying, this recovering from perfectionism is still like a work in progress. And I think that's important just to name it and say, it's still a work in progress. I'm not going to get being not a perfectionist perfect. I'm just not. But to know that that is where you're weak and that's where God can strengthen you. And so even if you're journaling, 5 out of 7 nights, well, perfectionist showed up again tonight and today at work and in this way, and God help me. Then that's okay because you're still naming it. So you're still going to be healing and it's still, we're all works in progress. And I just love that. We're not going to get everything right, but there's so much grace. And when there's grace and rest, there's healing. And I think that's just a good way to sum up this conversation. So thank you so much for sharing your story. Thank you for giving the nurses listening today hope and encouragement. I know you don't love socials, but is there any way that people can find you on there to just say thank you and maybe if they connected with your story to have a conversation?
It's so funny. I do have social media.
Yeah.
It is the way I reach clients and I love to touch base with friends. And if you follow me, I am on Glowing Star on Instagram, and then I am Stephanie Taylor on Facebook. It is public, and yeah, those are my main two. I don't have any of the fancy other things, but
Nope, that's good.
and if people just want to email me, that's always good too. The glowingstar@mac.com works great.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for being here. It was a pleasure.
Take care.
I pray that blessed you, and it would bless me big if you would share the show with a friend or write a review. It will only take a few minutes, and it's the best way for people to find the show too. I would love to connect over on Instagram @theshanwright, or you can email me hello@theshanwright.com. And until next time, may the Lord's face shine upon you and give you peace. Shalom.